This will be a battle between Reptilicus commanding Tylis and myself commanding the Ardiaei. Two very lackluster factions. Kind of a fair matchup. Neither of them have really standout capabilities other than the Illyrians having these Illyrian Thuria Spears and Illyrian Marines that are pretty decent units, and these Illyrian Noble Hoplites, which are extremely tanky Hoplites with 115 armor, and they also inspire. Now my army consists of 6 of these guys, 6 of the Illyrian Thuria Spears, 4 mercenary Celtic warriors, 2 mercenary axe warriors, and 2 Illyrian cavalry. Reptilicus brought 2 Celtic warriors, I believe, or maybe just 1, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5 or 6 Gallo Thracians, 1 Oathsworn, 5 of these Celtic skirmishers, 2 Thracian warriors, 2 noble horse, one of them is his general, and a light horse. So we went fairly infantry heavy. He went for more skirmishers, but I have a slightly bigger skirmishing capability, I believe, because I have these Illyrian Thurio Spears. So we're fairly evenly matched in skirmishing. He has mostly swords, I have mostly these Hoplites as my infantry corps. So nothing too fancy. We're probably just going to send our guys at each other and see who comes out on top. Both Tylis and the Ardiaei are pretty lackluster factions in that they have decent units, but they don't have great units, and they are extremely predictable. It's hard to surprise your opponent with fancy builds or effective builds that's unknown to him. Here I'm going to try to get some shots off on his noble horse, but he runs out of range just before I can connect with some javelins. Then his Gallo Thracians rush in. I'm sending in my Illyrian nobles, and the engagement is happening all across the line here. Lots of weird angles developing, because this is Total War Rome 2. So the Illyrian noble Hoplites are going to do fairly well on the charge against these Gallo Thracians, while the Thuria Spears are supporting. Now, normally I would be worried about a lot of Celtic skirmishers here, and as you can see, he is able to take out my general fairly well with these guys. General routed almost instantly because it was taking fire from all of these guys. However, not too worried, since I have Inspire on all these guys. They aren't disciplined, but they are doing well enough that they don't care too much about losing their general. But this is going to allow him to move into my backlines. However, there are no skirmishers there, only these Illyrian Thuria Spears, and I'm just going to move them into square to give them slightly better morale and to give them a 360-degree arc of fire. And they won't be able to be rear charged when they are in square, so pretty nifty formation to use for those units. Over here my mercenary Celtic warriors are fighting noble horse and losing, but they are being supported by these Thuria Spears. Over here mercenary axe warriors are killing Thracian warriors fairly easily. Thracian warriors are absolutely crap unless you can get rear charges with them. His general is taking some casualties to these guys, but overall the melee in the center is being held together by my noble Hoplites, getting some nice kills and making these Gallo Thracian warriors run away. The Celtic warriors holding up this noble horse, and now the flanks are starting to disintegrate, so it's going to enable me to bring in units for support. That's going to tip the scales in my favor here. He still has his general alive, this unit of Thracian warriors, a few depleted Gallo Thracian units, but the main problem is this unit of Oathsworn. They can still get a lot of kills. Here I'm able to catch his general, sandwich him between a few units, and he should start dropping fairly quickly. Still, this is by no means decided yet. His Celtic skirmishers, although they haven't gotten the highest amount of kills, they are very high value kills, since most of them I believe are against Illyrian noble Hoplites. He's going to send them in here against my send any skirmishers against my Hoplites, trying to break them, get some more kills on them. But overall, I think I probably have enough of these Illyrian Noble Hoplites left to be able to kill these depleted skirmishers and these Gallo-Thracians. When his general dies, that's going to be a very helpful for me. Over here, the mercenary Celtic warriors getting into the mix, breaking a unit of Celtic warriors. The noble horse was able to disengage and is going to go in for some charges here against these Illyrian Noble Hoplites. They are pretty high morale, so it's hard to break them even with rear charging. You almost have to kill them down to a man. Running away with the skirmishers. A small melee blob developing in the center here, so we're just going to keep pouring units in, trying to get rear charges and trying to break each other's units. These Gallo-Thracians fighting it out against these Illyrian Noble Hoplites. Noble Horse going down. The Oathsworn are still doing quite well for themselves with 160 kills, and they have almost 100 men left. So they are going to be a problem, but I'm fairly confident that I'll be able to send these guys out to take care of the skirmishers before they can join the melee. And a few small details. These Noble Hoplites are of course in phalanx, and in order to stop any rear charges, I'm going to put the Thurio spears in. I put them in square over here, and I'm going to almost use them like cavalry, in that I'm charging them in against the Oathsworn, hoping to do some damage. Won't do much damage, but maybe I'll kill a guy or two. Then I'll pull them out of the melee, since these guys are engaged, to stop any rear charges from happening. Here I'll go into square formation, so that these guys are charging straight into the square. I won't have any rear to charge with these Illyrian Thurio spears. They'll get increased melee defense, and they will increase their morale, which is very important in the late game when the general is dead. So they were able to stop the rear charges coming in from these Celtic skirmishers, and now I can focus on his Oathsworn. Throw some javelins into his Celtic skirmishers, try to break them quickly. They will die very quickly to these mercenary Celtic warriors. And the Oathsworn disengaging to not be rear charged by these Illyrian Noble Hoplites, but disengaging them is also going to make them lose men more quickly. And now the battle has swung decidedly in my favor here. So the Oathsworn still getting a whole lot of kills, but they are being surrounded. The Celtic skirmishers are wavering, being killed off by Celtic warriors and Illyrian Thurio spears. The Oathsworn have had enough for today, and that's the end of the battle when that unit breaks. So let's have a look at the result screen. 1300 kills for me, 1408 for Reptilicus. I had more men than him. He had more cavalry, more skirmishers, but here you can see the kind of the lackluster part of Tylis. These Gallo-Thracians, while decent units, they aren't really able to stand up to heavy units like these Illyrian Noble Hoplites, and they are cheaper of course. Oathsworn doing what they do best, killing a lot of shit. These Thracian warriors got some nice kills, and these as well. Some of the Celtic warriors did fairly well. I'm happy with how the mercenary axe warriors did. The Illyrian Noble Hoplites did extremely well. It's a bit of a spammy build since I have 18 infantry units, but with the Ardiaei I don't think it's feasible to bring more cavalry, and their skirmishers are, while they are okay, I much prefer to have Thurio spears that won't break instantly in melee. So good game to Reptilicus. We both tried two pretty weak factions and builds that aren't very usual, and in this game I managed to just get out on top. So GG, well played, and I'll see you again on the battlefield.